Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Awesemo.com live before lock show. We'll be talking about the day's 9-game slate, all of the baseball things you need to know, ownership, rankings, the usual that you can find yourself if you're a premium member of Awesemo.com. I'm Chris Spags, joined today by the baseball savant himself, formerly carrying a rich home run streak, but now not quite as good as me for one day at least. Mr. Jake Hari, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. Yeah, the home run streak, kind of anticlimactic there. The game got rained out, so I should have just messaged you guys when that happened and made a pick, but I don't know if it's still. We'll see. We'll see if we can pick it up where it left off. Kind of just came to an end due to the weather and not due to me picking bad picks. So I don't know. We'll see.
Your brazen approach to weather management bit you in the ass this time.
Yeah, I know. I play everything. Like, I rarely take a game off unless it's looking really, really bad. So, yeah, I've gotten burned a bunch of times this year, more times than in years past. So maybe I should change that up. But until it would take a pretty bad slump for me to avoid weather. So.
No, that makes sense. I feel good about my home run pick, which Josh, the Chubster, who is currently out tending some family business. He derided me for picking Nolan Arenado, which I did only because our boss, Alex Baker, the best DFS player in the world, Mr. Awesemo himself, picked Trevor Story, and hit a home run, Nolan Arenado. So
yeah,
sometimes you just got to take the one that's in front of you.
Arenado against the lefty in Coors, yeah. You're really going out on a limb there.
You know what? It felt right and it paid off, and that's really what we're all about here. Sometimes you can't be all about ego. I'm just taking straight picks now. I'm not trying to get cute, but we'll find out. We are going to do home run picks, so Jake will try to reestablish his dominance tonight. We'll do them a little closer to 6:30 Eastern, so tune in then. What are we doing tonight for pitchers? Alex Awesemo himself has an article up for premium members where he breaks down the likelihood of each pitcher being the top on the slate. So if you're premium, go check that out now. But what are us mere mortals doing today, Jake, at pitcher?
Yeah, pitcher. So Robbie Ray is the overwhelming chalk. If you've seen our ownership projections, you know that. It's not a secret. You don't need our ownership projections to see that. So he's going to be very, very highly owned. Probably the highest strikeout matchup. I would argue maybe Maeda has a shot to match him. Two guys that don't go super deep but have the ability to rack up double-digit Ks, and we've seen them doing as little as like 5 innings this year. So just an awesome play Ray is. But even though he is an awesome play, does he really have a 60% chance at being a top 2 scoring pitcher? I don't know. You can read about that in the Perfect Pitcher article that Alex did today, but and he sort of gives his take. It's tough chalk to avoid, I think. So I wouldn't advocate for a full fade, but I'm going to be underweight on Ray.
Yeah, I have a couple of Rangers mini stacks. I think that you can go with some of the righties in there against him and be okay there. That said, he is hard to fade to me, at least. Percentage-wise, he's not. We are currently projecting to be 60% owned. It's possible that comes down a little bit closer to lock because I find it hard to believe we're going to go in with that staying standard. But yeah, there's got to be ways off of him. I think going with Beltre, a Beltre, Profar, Chirinos mini stack kind of makes sense if you are going off of Ray because he does get hit hard. That's sort of his thing. I've likened him to Kenny Powers before. What I would imagine a real life Kenny Powers would be just a guy who throws strikeouts and a guy who gets hit hard and very little in between. So I think there is logic to fading him, and Maeda, to me, looks like a play. Guy that Alex mentioned in his article, Peralta, seems interesting to me, going against the Dodgers, who strike out a lot. They are back home, but you've liked Peralta before. I think we both have. How do you feel about him tonight?
I don't really like him. I think he's starting to get figured out a little bit. Like, when you look at his fastball, it's not great. I think it's like just above 90 miles an hour. Heard some other people talk about how like underwhelming his stuff is for having that big of a strikeout rate and stuff, and it's true. He just doesn't have great stuff, and I think this is a big regression spot. We've seen regression in the last couple starts from him as he started to miss less bats, and if he's not missing bats here, he's in big trouble. So I love the Dodgers stack, and I hate that Alex is on Peralta somewhat because that makes me nervous because I love the Dodgers. But I'll still have a lot of Dodgers and very, very little Peralta, if any.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I didn't end up with a ton of Peralta, and I did end up with a little bit of Dodgers. Again, I'm still a little burned by them, but them being back home, even though they aren't a pitcher's park, they have hit a lot better at home. And they've really put up some outrageous offensive performances at home in particular, too. So I think if you are not interested in Peralta, stacking against them is probably a move. What about Derek Holland? Derek Holland getting a lot of talent.
Kind of the logical pivot for me. So the way I'm thinking of it right now is based on this ownership that we're seeing for Robbie Ray is if you're not playing Ray, you basically need him to have a below average start for him. You need him to be scoring like 15 points or less. I don't think Holland is just going to outscore Ray if he gets 20, 25 like you're expecting from him with that kind of crazy ownership. But if Holland can get you 20 and Ray stumbles a little bit, gives up a home run or two, the Rangers have the bats to get to him. And I don't see a lot of bats that the Padres can get to Holland with. Villanueva, Myers, Renfroe, probably the most likely ones, but those guys still strike out a lot, especially Myers and Villanueva. There's just strikeouts all over this lineup. Holland is K'ing 27% of righties. It just adds up, and Holland's getting a lot of whiffs on both his curveball and his slider against righties lately. So all those things add up to Holland being a really solid pivot, in my opinion.
Yeah, I just don't buy the Derek Holland narrative quite as much. I know his numbers have been up, but I'm still buying into the overall sample size, which is that he's much worse versus righties than he's shown. His last couple outings, he's been really great. His whip is down to 0.6, getting a ton of swinging strikes, 14.2% swinging strike rate. But, I do think he's still the same pitcher, and I'm willing to go the other way if people are going to play Holland at any volume. And I think for me, like a Villanueva, Perella, even Galvis maybe. I think there's some cheap stacks in there which make a lot of sense with some of the other more popular stacks, like in Arizona, maybe in Atlanta. So I don't mind going against Holland, and I would actually be more inclined to go against him than go with him, just because I don't like him getting this tout love tonight. He seems like a guy who's people are just talking themselves into to get off of Ray, and those guys tend to blow up more often than not. I feel like
that's fair. We don't have Holland being very highly owned right now, but he may be one of those guys that, as the shows are going on and people are listening to their analysis wherever they want to listen to, he may be up into like the 8, 9, 10% range, whereas right now we have him under 5. So it may not be as sneaky of a play as I thought it was going to be this morning, but I still think at a fifth of Ray's percentage, I think he's more higher than a 20% chance that he outscores Ray. So just that alone makes me want to play Holland.
Yeah, that is a pretty low ownership on him. I'll give you that, but I don't know, man. I just he's been in the headline, I think, of a bunch of tweets I've seen today, or articles where they're like, "Is Derek Holland the play? Is Derek Holland the play?" Where I feel like our ownership doesn't necessarily account for the media narrative quite as much. I would bet that he gets closer to 10% by lock, but
okay.
Even 10% though is not that. I don't think is that high. Fair enough. What stacks are you pivoting to then to try to differentiate yourself if we are playing Ray? Or just in general, what stacks do you feel like are coming out the most for you right now?
So I mentioned the Dodgers right off the bat. I don't think they're going to be very highly owned, and I just like them as a team. This Brewers bullpen, they have Josh Hader, and he's been crazy good this year. But if the Dodgers can get to Peralta early, and it's all of a sudden it's 5-1, and they get into the lesser arms of the Brewers bullpen, that's pretty appealing to me. So I'm not too worried about Hader if I'm playing a Dodgers stack, because you're assuming that Peralta gets out of the game early and the Dodgers have a lead, and then there won't be a real need for Hader to come in. Let's see. I do like some of the Mariners, the guys with speed against Garrett Cole and then Nelson Cruz. So really those top 5. I don't know that I'm full stacking against Garrett Cole, but that's a stack that came up more for me than I anticipated this morning. We talked about the Diamondbacks earlier today. It's just an awesome stack against Martin Perez, especially Goldschmidt and Pollock, 2 of my highest owned players on the slate. Oakland against Marco Estrada is one of my higher owned stacks. I like Atlanta a little bit, mostly the righties against Wei Chen, and then Cleveland against Irvin Santana. That total has risen as the day has gone on, and I like both sides of that game, actually, Cleveland and Minnesota.
I'm a little surprised. I mean, I think I need to search this whole thing, but one guy has moved up the rankings of ownership today is Tyler Flowers. We're now projecting to have almost 40% ownership.
Yeah.
That's I landed on Flowers a fair amount too. Again, like you mentioned with Wei Chen, going with the righties in the Atlanta lineup makes a lot of sense. And I think that Flowers and Camargo part of the lineup is the most interesting part to me. I can't believe he's that highly owned, like that we're projecting him that much. This Brave stack to me looks pretty good, but maybe not at a cumulative ownership of like 17 to 25%. I don't know. How do you feel about the Braves?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, Flowers is just so easy. He's like the clear number 1 or 2 or 3 catcher on the slate against Chen, who's got home run issues. Flowers has been raking against lefties all year, and he's hitting 5th. It's a stack people like. He's just really easy to get to. So if you're not going to Flowers, I like Grandal, assuming he's in. J.R. Murphy batting farther down in the order, but I love his matchup against Perez. So hopefully he gets 2 or 3 at bats against him and can hit the ball hard a couple times. Other catchers, I mean, it's tough, right? Because Flowers is just so much better of a play than a lot of these guys. But Grandal and who did I just say? J.R. Murphy. Those are my 2 other favorites.
I would go Chirinos if you are not going to play Ray, because I do think he's the kind of guy who Robbie Ray would get smacked around by. So that would be just one move I would do there. I don't mind Austin Hedges if you are going to stack some of that Padres stuff. Like, again, if you're not a Derek Holland believer like I'm not, that would be one other place I would look. I'm just surprised. I thought Flowers was almost a sneaky play, and he is very much the opposite of a sneaky play. Murphy too, honestly, is getting pretty decent ownership. I'm surprised that all these guys really no secrets to be had in the matchup tonight.
Yeah, it's Flowers is just a ridiculously good play, I think. So that's why you're seeing the crazy ownership, and he's cheap, and it's Wei Chen. It's just a bunch of different confounding variables that make him the crazy chalk. So when there's a hitter, any hitter that's 40% owned is fadeable. I mean, it's not like there aren't other options. Does he have a 40% chance of being the top catcher on the slate? No, he doesn't need to be the top catcher on the slate for him to be viable. But it's not like there aren't other decent options too.
And the Athletics lineup just came out, so that's another game. We haven't talked about that one too much, which it seems like it's maybe going a bit overlooked given that you have Edwin Jackson on one side, the other easily rocked, who also coming off a hip injury, Marco Estrada. How are you feeling about that game, I guess, stack-wise, and about those 2 pitchers?
Yeah, Oakland, so it's not a great hitting environment, but a little bit of wind blowing out is nice. And then Estrada just gives up so many fly balls. You've got hitters with a ton of power where the park shouldn't matter that much if they hit the ball hard. So Chapman, Lowry, Davis, Olsen, those are the guys that I like on the A's side. And then I'm not crazy about the Blue Jays side. I didn't end up with a lot of Blue Jays, so I don't like Edwin Jackson. I don't think he's going to get a lot of strikeouts here or anything or be a great play, but I'm just not super psyched about this Blue Jays lineup. So
I think I ended up on a fair amount of Edwin Jackson tonight. I have like maybe 1 or 2 Blue Jays stacks, but Jackson is kind of at a price where I feel like my stacks landed on either him or Santana a lot. So I don't think either is a particularly great play, but I think if it fits the bats that you like, again, we've kind of pushed the idea that just get your bats in, the bats that you feel most confident about, especially in these sort of the summer months, probably makes more sense. So I don't mind Edwin Jackson if he works price wise, but I do think it's one of those matchups to me where either he's going to get hit a lot or he's not going to get, or he's just going to get through the day and have 20 points at the end of it all. And I think there's not a lot in between there. There's a lot of strikeouts for Toronto, but also a fair amount of power.
Yeah. All right, that's fair. It's mostly just the A's for me. But yeah, I get stacking against Jackson.
Yeah, it's a not bad team total, though. So, I mean, you could play Jackson, I think. I mean, it's only 4 runs projected for Toronto, which if Edwin Jackson made out with that, sure, might not be that bad.
Sure.
Paulie, Real Muto owns Tehran. It doesn't matter if he owns a particular pitcher. That's not a thing that we look at, Paulie. But Real, how do we feel about a Marlin stack who is never particularly highly owned?
Lefties. That's the problem. So I like lefties against Tehran. But Real Muto and Anderson are both 2 decent hitters against righties, especially. So if you want to go with the top 4, that's how I would stack it. But you get into Prado and Rojas and Sierra, and all of a sudden your options are very limited. And it's not like you're getting them for $2,500. You're paying over $3K, $3,500 for some of these guys. So it's not like I'm cutting it off to the top 4. I think if I'm stacking the Marlins. Yeah,
the bookend with the lefties would probably be all I would do, but I'm not crazy about. I like Real Muto usually as kind of a default one-off kind of guy, but I don't think in a matchup, Tehran is just so much better versus righties than he is lefties, and I don't know. I could see if you want to get there and if you want to stack it, sure, but it's not what I'm super crazy about tonight. Let's see. How about Paxton? We didn't talk much about him. He's a guy that I think you wrote up in the game plan today and have talked about a little bit. How are you feeling about Paxton as we get closer to lock?
So the thing with Paxton is you don't know how long he's going to go, right? So he's coming off, or he got scratched from his last start. He was going to be mega chalk after a bullpen session, and now he did a same bullpen session that was like 30 pitches, under 40 pitches. So you just don't know how long he's going to go. This total would suggest he's going to go long and he's healthy. Or I should say this Vegas line, him being basically a pick'em, slight underdog against Garrett Cole on a 3.6 run total for the Astros, but I just don't have confidence that he's going to go super deep. So I limited my exposure to James Paxton. I don't know where we have him in our update, but I'm below that by a good margin. We have him under 20. I'm well below that.
Yeah, to me, I don't see the need to go there. I think there are a couple, I'd rather go cheaper and have some volatility or go a little more expensive and feel maybe a little bit safer. But yeah, to me, I don't really see the point in going to Paxton tonight. I'd rather kind of deal with the Rays stuff and then maybe either get off that beaten path with some other parts of the lineup. Yeah, Paxton, to me, just against a team is that good. I get the logic behind it, but coming off an injury, I've personally been burned by some of the guys coming off injuries lately. It's just not a spot I'm dying to go to. If you were against the Padres, then sure, yeah, go for it. But he's going against one of the best hitting teams versus a lefty in the league. I don't see any reason to go there necessarily.
Yeah, I agree.
Good.
Yeah. No, that's what makes it tough.
How about Carlos Martinez? We haven't talked much about him. He's another sort of logical pivot, picking up a lot of ownership. It seems like as the day goes on. How do you feel about him in the spot going against Colorado, not in Colorado?
I haven't seen a pitch count for him. I'm seeing some people talk about if there's a pitch count. I haven't seen anything for him. He threw in his last 3 starts, July 7th, 100 pitches, July 13th, 89 pitches, July 19th, 90 pitches, then went on the DL. So he only missed 1 start. 90 pitches in his last one. I mean, I would assume he should be able to go around 90 pitches just 11 days later, assuming he's fully healthy and it was just a strain or whatever and he just needed to start off. So I'm less worried about Martinez than Paxton as far as pitch count, and I like Martinez's matchup. Again, the Vegas total or the Vegas line would suggest that Martinez is healthy and should be able to be at or basically be able to go deep into this game. Only 3.8 runs for the Rockies. So yeah, I like Martinez better than Paxton.
Yeah, I like him more than Paxton too. I think he threw a bullpen session. Martinez did that was supposedly means that he's not going to have a crazy limit today. I don't know. I feel more comfortable with him. Not a guy who I feel like if he is going to be 30% owned, I believe is what our most recent projection had. Yeah, so if he's going to be 30% owned, again, not so crazy about him, but in general, I think a sprinkling of Martinez makes sense. I think that's a winnable matchup for him, and also the Dodgers lineup is out in case we need that. No Matt Kemp, so that is the one big thing to note.
Ooh, okay. I gotta change some stuff around. Not that I had a ton of Kemp, but oh wait, was he even in the projected lineup?
He was initially, yeah.
Okay.
They put Utley in instead of him.
Okay.
I think changed.
Cool.
But yeah, the way they laid it out makes a little more sense for the Dodgers. Again, Peralta pretty noticeably worse versus lefties.
Yeah.
So they're going with a bunch of lefties / switch hitters and Manny in the top 5. So it'll probably be not a popular stack, but it's a logical stack.
Yeah, so Utley is my least favorite guy by a wide margin in that Dodgers stack, but the rest of the guys I like against Peralta. Most of the lefties, so Grandal's a switch hitter, but you got Muncy, Bellinger, who are both good against lefties, or at least can hit lefties for power. So if a righty comes in, a lefty comes in after Peralta, they should be okay. The one guy you have to worry about getting pinch hit for is Jock Peterson, just because he cannot hit lefties for the life of him. And he's probably going to get pinch hit for at some point in the game. So he's only 4,500. It's not like he's 5K or something where you got to just like you're sacrificing like a Mookie Betts or something like that. But just something to note with that Dodgers lineup. Yeah,
that makes sense. Somebody asked a question which I thought was interesting, but now I lost it. Does cross-country travel figure into your DFS lineup creation? For example, Milwaukee was at San Francisco yesterday and traveled to LA. The Dodgers were in Atlanta yesterday and they traveled back home to LA. Is that something that you would factor in at all, Jake?
That's probably like if a team has a very rough travel schedule, like let's say they got delayed and their flight moved back and they got in at 3 a.m. or whatever. That's probably reflected in the Vegas line. So yeah, I'm not worried about that. Like these lines are somewhat efficient, so I wouldn't be too worried about that.
Yeah, most of that stuff is already accounted for when Vegas does its calculations, so that in general there's not a lot you need to try to think about in terms of external factors, because everything from park factors to travel to games in a row to stuff like that is usually accounted for in that process. How safe is Ramirez tonight? How do you feel about Jose Ramirez and I guess the Indians in general?
I love Jose Ramirez against Irvin Santana. Santana was not super impressive to me. And, I mean, anytime Jose Ramirez is playing, I usually have some exposure. He can steal, he can hit for power. I mean, it's just anytime, especially against a righty, where the stolen base upside is a little bit higher in general. Santana has allowed 75% success rate on stolen bases over the last few years. It's just a really, really good matchup for Jose Ramirez in a good park.
Yeah, I think Jose Ramirez looks fine. I didn't get there a ton tonight just because of the price of that stack. I felt like it wasn't where I wanted to go with my money tonight, but I do think it makes sense. And Jose Ramirez, if you are going to go with Cleveland, does make a lot of sense to go with him as part of that, obviously. Is Eric Lauer sneaky tonight? I guess we talked about the other side of that with Derek Holland. It's not a much worse matchup for Eric Lauer against San Francisco, though he is a worse pitcher than Derek Holland. How do you feel about him going against the Giants this evening?
Yeah, I didn't really need him. So that's why I ended up with such little amounts of Eric Lauer. And there are some guys that I respect in this Giants lineup: Longoria, Posey, McCutchen. He gets those 3 in a row. He struggles with hard contact against righties. Not that that's a huge issue in San Diego, but still some good hitters up top for the Giants. And like you said, he's not as good as Holland. So I didn't need to go to dive that deep because I'm not paying up for a lot of Garrett Cole. My 8 is as high as I'm going for the most part. But yeah, I just don't need him, and I don't think he's a good pitcher.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's a good pitcher, and I don't think that it's. I mean, look, I get it. I think if it does get to that point where salary-wise he makes it work, and if you want to go with like a Ray Maeda or something, and then some high-priced bats from like Boston or somebody like that, I think then it makes sense to go there just as a low-end pivot. But he's not a guy who I'm crazy about, and he's just bad. He's just a bad pitcher in general. Even though the Giants are also bad, he might be worse. So that's it's all relative. Thoughts on Melky Cabrera? I mean, he's a player. He's a player
in a stack. Yeah, I love it for 3,800 outfielder. If you're stacking up the top 3 or 4, or 1 through 3 and 5, and you want Melky in there. He's batting 6th in for a team that has a 5.3 run total. That's one of the highest on the night. And like I said, Irvin wasn't impressive in his first start back. I don't expect to see anything better in the second start against a really tough team. So in a stack, yeah, why not Melky Cabrera? But as a one-off, he's not someone I'm targeting.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think he's that amazing of a play, but as part of that stack, sure, why not? Let's see. Let's do home run picks. It's 3:30. We got some people who tune in just at this time to get the home run picks. Jake, of course, was riding a 5-game hot streak, then lost one to weather on Friday. I'm riding a 1-game hot streak. Josh, the Chubb Strangleman, is not here today, and thus cannot build on his lead. He's 3 up on me, 4 up on you right now. I did the math.
Okay. Home run pick. Staying away from the chalk. All right, I've picked this guy like 4 or 5 times, and he's never come through. I'm gonna pick him again though. Eddie Rosario, 5,200.
Holy shit! That's what was gonna be my pick.
Yeah. All right. Those are the perks of going first. You can pick Polanco. You can pick Polanco. He's just as likely.
I don't think so. So Shane Bieber gets rocked by lefties, and that's what jumped out off the page to me today. I was gonna go with Rosario, but there's nobody else. Rosario to me is like I have a bunch of one-off Rosarios. Because he's only like 5% owned, and I think he's in a great spot. Yeah. And again, Bieber very, very bad versus lefties. So that top 3 of that order looks good. I would also skip Dozier and stack down to Grossman. That would be one of my lower owned stacks. This really throws a wrench into my whole thing. Man. Oof. I'm going to have to go to Arizona then. I'm going Paul Goldschmidt.
All right.
Look, I was going to go a lone guy.
The chalk.
Very chalky first
Chalk
baseman.
Goldschmidt.
Look, I got to catch up to Josh. I got to stay ahead of you now. I'm just picking dudes who are going to hit home runs. Paul Goldschmidt. Not getting cute.
Yeah. I could have taken like Chris Davis. He's probably like my next highest, but my pick is Eddie Rosario. There's always a few guys up top that I think have really good chances to dong. Goldschmidt's one of them. Pollock's another. Rosario is the play, and you should be getting that home run. Game starts at 8:10 Eastern. We'll call it 8:30 Eastern. First at bat against Bieber.
I hope so. God damn, I can't believe you went there. Like, once you said it, and you said I picked this guy a couple times, I was like, is he going Rosario? Because I feel like you go him and Escobar a fair amount, or you have it. Now Escobar's season has moved to Arizona. So.
Yep.
Damn. All right, well, I got a better pick out of it, but still, Eddie Rosario, great play. I'll stand by that. Hoskins has been possessed lately. We haven't talked much about Boston Philly. How do you feel about the stacks in that game? Two fairly competent pitchers, 2 fairly competent hitting lineups as well. Are you attacking there at all?
So someone mentioned Reese. Yeah, I think he's a very obvious play. Seems like he's donging like every single day. I'm not crazy about the stack against Price. He's been pretty good to me, limiting hard hits as of late. This Phillies team, at least I know on Thursday, they had a crazy outburst. 3 guys double donging, hitting better, but their numbers against lefties aren't spectacular for the season. In fact, they're pretty below average. I'm actually more on the Boston stack than the Philadelphia stack, just because I don't think people will target the Red Sox as much as they should. Nola is an awesome pitcher, absolutely. There's no doubt about that, but this Red Sox team has been the best in the MLB against right-handed pitching at home. They just crush everyone, it seems like, and Nola's much better at home. He's obviously not at home. It's a great park. Like, there's just a lot of reasons. Low ownership for the Red Sox. I'm just in on them anytime they're going to be low owned. There's a couple teams like that.
Yeah, I agree. I think if you were going to stack, I would be more inclined to go to Boston. I think that, like Jake said, Nola's good, but the Red Sox are the best in every category as a team versus righties. They get on base the most. They have the most power. They strike out the least. They generate the most runs. They end up with WRC+. So, I mean, to me, I do think they're a little underrepresented. I wish the total were a little higher, but at the same time, I guess it would probably make ownership go higher. So I think it's pretty logical to go there. But I think especially if you're fading the expensive pitchers, a stack of the elite Red Sox players, and then maybe, a guy like Jackie Bradley Jr. Nola is a little bit worse versus lefties, so you could maybe get some value in there with Bradley or, I guess, Brock Holt. I don't know. I don't really like Brock Holt that much. But, yeah, I think there are ways to go about it, and Boston, to me, looks pretty good. And I don't mind playing Price either. The Phillies strike out a fair amount. Price has been getting good movement lately. He has had a couple good outings, mostly. So I think I'd be more inclined to play Price and play the Boston lineup.
Yeah, agreed.
Let's see. Playing Yelich over Pollock. I'll see you guys at the bottom of the tourneys. Yelich looks fine to me. I think the lefties on the Milwaukee lineup would be one place that I would look if you were going to fade Maeda.
I'm just not fading Maeda. I really respect Maeda. He's actually one of my highest exposed players on the night. There just hasn't been enough talk about him. The one problem with him is that he doesn't go super deep into games, rarely gets to 100 pitches, and if he does, it's probably 103 or something like that. He's not going 110, 115 like you're seeing with some of these other guys like the Trevor Bauers and the Chris Sales and those guys. So that's my one beef with Maeda. But at home here, minuscule total for the Brewers just seems like a really awesome strikeout spot as well, even with Moustakas in the lineup.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Maeda's last couple outings, his swinging strike rate's about 18.8%, which is incredibly high. Chase rate of 45.5%. So he's getting a lot of guys outside the zone. I think even his last outing, he got hit pretty hard in terms of home runs, but still had a good outing besides that. So yeah, I'm with you on it. I do like Maeda, but I think Maeda's not chalky, but he's approaching chalkiness. So I think if you were going to try to get cute, I think I would attack him with the lefties in that lineup, and then, maybe one of Aguilar or Kane, I guess, would be what I would do.
Yeah, it would be the lefties for sure, especially Yelich and Shaw, or Yelich, Shaw, and Moustakas. But Shaw is dual position. Nice. Didn't even see that. Not stacking the Brewers though.
Finally, one position change for DK that makes it helpful.
Yeah,
it's so rare for them to change a position and help you in any way. Instead, you just have to play the 5 first basemen on Toronto's lineup or whatever bullshit they stick you with.
Right.
Let's see. Why do St. Louis players' numbers against lefties look so good, but almost never put up big games as a team? And as a rhetorical question from Jason Kelly, I presume that would mean that they're due for some regression and that they should eventually go off. But
they've been not good against lefties this year as a team. We pulled it up this morning when I was doing the MLB strategy video by my lonesome. So I'll just read it off here. On the season, I'm sorry, St. Louis they're above average for the season, but they're not like spectacular against lefties. They never seem to have big games. I don't know. That's probably just a cognitive bias that you have. They seem fine. It's not like they're the Yankees against lefties who have the highest WRC plus and ISO and all that. But I just think Tyler Anderson's a really good pitcher, so I didn't end up on much Cardinals at all.
Yeah, I didn't end up with a bunch of Cardinals either. And I like Tyler Anderson. I think he's shown he's been pretty competent on the road and at Coors. And obviously, if you could be competent at all in Coors, I think there's logic there. I can see what you're saying though. If you look at just a player basis, like every player gets on base a pretty high rate. Almost every player in that lineup has a pretty good isolated power. So I think they could be due for something there. Even guys down at the bottom of the order like Bader. Honestly, Carlos Martinez actually hits the ball pretty hard too. He's got a 197 WRC plus versus lefties. Good for you, Carlos Martinez. But yeah, I think that it might be a little underrepresented in tonight's kind of landscape. I haven't seen anybody talk about St. Louis at all, and I like Tyler Anderson, but it does seem like the Cardinals should beat up on lefties more than they do.
That's fair.
It's interesting. Let's see. Ahmed against Texas bullpen. Chris Johnson's throwing out a lot of stuff tonight. Chris Johnson also said he doesn't want Eddie Rosario because all he does is hit home runs, as if that would be a detriment if Eddie Rosario hit a home run.
You can play on my team if you're just hitting homers. You can gladly come play for me.
Yeah, please. That's like every player in MLB right now. Just home runs or walks. That's it.
Strikeouts.
And strikeouts, yes. That is another key part of it all. But how do you feel about – we haven't talked much about the Diamondbacks at depth. How do you feel about the Diamondbacks stacking a little deeper down that lineup?
Ahmed is the guy I like. I shouldn't say the guy. I like really 2 through 8. So not crazy about John Jay, but Ketel Marte is one of my favorite parts of that stack. And then J.R. Murphy occupies that catcher position that is either Tyler Flowers or bust. But Murphy, I think, is a good way to get off of the major chalk and go with a little bit of a less chalkier option. So yeah, I like that bottom of the Diamondbacks order. I want Goldschmidt, Pollock, and Escobar, but if I have to settle for the bottom of it, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, I think I actually had a little bit without Escobar, and just because I feel like he's going to be higher on just being new in the lineup, and I feel like people always love playing a guy in a new team who's kind of and he had a good first outing too for Arizona, so I don't actually mind fading Escobar and going deeper down that lineup, and also fading Murphy because I think he's another guy who's drawing some ownership as a pivot off of Flowers. So I think that 3 through 7 actually, including Ahmed especially, would be a pretty good spot to attack. Pollock being the highest priced guy out of all those kind of surprises me. It doesn't seem like that's justified.
Pollock? He grades out really well for me. So I love Pollock.
I like him, but like, why is he $5,000 and Goldschmidt's cheaper? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, Goldschmidt's just a misprice. I think he should be like 5,700 at least. Against Martin Perez, that's like one of the best matchups you could ask for Goldschmidt.
Yeah, I agree. Let's see. How about Albies, Acuna, Camargo against Chen in Atlanta? Chen is terrible on the road this year. We've talked about this a little bit, but the righties versus Chen would be the ones to go with. Obviously, the neater stack is with Flowers and Camargo, but I think you can. I mean, it kind of sucks you have to skip over Freeman and Markakis, or maybe only include one of them. But I think you can do a full stack there for sure.
Yeah, I mean, full Brave stack, they're going to be popular. I don't think we don't need to tout them too much. I think they're going to be one of the more popular options on the night, but Camargo is a way to get different. I think people will leave him off, and I don't think he's that far behind like an Acuna, even though they're a different position. I don't have him being that much worse of a play. In fact, Camargo hits lefties pretty well, according to my numbers.
Yeah, Camargo hits lefties really well. He also hits home runs about 5.5% of the time versus a lefty. Acuna actually grades out pretty poorly versus lefties, but I'm a little surprised by it. But which of the lefties in that Atlanta lineup would you play if you're trying to get from Acuna to Camargo? Would you play Freeman or would you play Markakis?
I'd play Freeman, but I tried to limit my exposure to those two in the Braves stack just because Chen is really awesome against lefties. Strikes them out, less hard contact, all that stuff. So I did limit both of them, but Freeman would be the guy I'd rather have.
Yeah, I think Freeman. Yeah, Freeman is probably the better play. I feel like I would go Markakis though, just because I'm a little more confident about him getting on base and at least being a part of it. Whereas I could see Freeman striking out just like a worse K rate, and I think he would go for the moon versus Chen and not realize that Chen's actually pretty competent. So I might go Markakis in that. 2 lineups out now. I don't know if these both just came in, but the Blue Jays have a lineup out, and the Brewers also as well. Definitely some changes in the Blue Jays one, which sucks because I had a Blue Jays pack. Let's see. Any worry about the weather in Atlanta?
Should we be worried? I'm not. Did someone see something that I'm not aware of? Because
somebody's asking. I feel like people have been mentioning it on and off, and somebody in Atlanta before was like, "Oh yeah, weather's looking good here," but I haven't seen anything alerting me to any issue yet.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything, so I'm gonna go with it's okay, unless someone's coming in chat and sounding the alarms.
And no, please no alarm sounding. Please have none of these lineups have anything weird either. That's all I'm hoping for at this point.
Yeah, that's always the worst, right?
It's nothing better than getting these lineups in last minute while we're doing a live stream, and then we have to adjust accordingly. Always my favorite.
We got 2 more left, right? We got San Francisco. That's a pretty important one. If Darno's leading off, he's going to be chalky. McCutchen, Posey, Longoria, those guys are all going to have some ownership. Slater. So that's a pretty important lineup.
Yeah, and also in the Milwaukee lineup, Moustakas getting bumped up, or Moustakas rather getting bumped up a little bit. So that's interesting. Let's see, what is the final version of this? We did talk about the Brewers being a contrarian stack to go with tonight. I'm curious to see how they did their lefties. Okay, so they did lefty, lefty, righty, lefty, righty, lefty. Braun is in today.
Braun is in. Braun has been here. Let me make sure, but I'm pretty sure he's been really bad against righties this year. I can't keep track of any of these guys, man.
There's too much data going on every single day.
It's just like, and now I've already like looked at tomorrow's slate, and it's just one big cluster. All right, let's see where Braun's at. 23.8% K rate, 81 WRC plus, ISO 186. That's fine. Not hitting righties as hard. I mean, he crushes lefties, but he doesn't get on base as much against righties. So, yeah, he is striking out a lot more than we've seen in years past.
Yeah, I'd probably be more inclined to include Kane in a stack of that team than Braun, from what I can tell.
Agreed.
Just creating more runs. Apparently San Francisco is also out now. Great, just everything come out at once at the most inopportune time.
McCutchen leading off.
So there goes d'Arnaud.
So they basically put Slater and d'Arnaud 5th, and then they went McCutchen, Posey, Longoria. That was formerly 3-4-5. Now they're 1-2-3. I like that. I mean, start with your best hitters first. It sounds amazing, but
let's see. All right, let's make a final assessment here. So, okay, now that lineup's out, how do we feel about the Giants versus Lauer officially? I mean, boy, I would say that McCutchen, Posey, Longoria mini stack can really be something. But then you even get down to Crawford, because I mean, you're talking about Crawford, coming up with possibly 2 guys on base, maybe at least 1 out of that. I think that would increase his odds of success.
I like Crawford. He looks fine to me against lefties, and I think people will leave him out of the otherwise weirdly chalky Giants stack. We don't think Lauer's any good, so lefty, you're hoping he's hitting with some guys on base. He's hitting cleanup. Yeah, it's a pretty good situation for only 3,800.
And if you're a premium member of Awesemo.com, there are, in fact, updated rankings and ownership projections for you on the site now. I think we just got a round of updates, so go check that out. I'm actually refreshing it as we speak, because sure, everything's going to get screwed up, and all of a sudden there's going to be somebody who's completely high-owned and going to ruin my day. It tends to be how it goes.
People really going to play hitters against Cy Perez? A lot of people are going to play hitters against Cy Perez. So if he's Cy Perez, man, there's going to be some people with a lot of lineups up at the top, where they just did a complete fade of Arizona.
Yeah, I mean, Arizona, I want to see these updated ownerships. So we've had Arizona being highly owned pretty much all day. I don't know. I assume it's only going to go up.
Yeah, I mean, they're just, you look at their individual matchups against Perez, you look at Perez's numbers against righties, and it just matches up so well. I don't know that these guys are these good of plays. I think Pollock and Goldschmidt are 2 of the best plays of the entire night, but the stack in total is probably going a little bit over-owned, I would say.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
We've got Boston, we've got Cleveland, we've got Minnesota in what I think is a good spot, Atlanta. Did I mention Boston, LA? So there are a bunch of teams that I have close to them. So yeah, it's not like they're on other options.
Geez, the Braves also going up, rising up the old tote board of ownership.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, so weird stack day, like weird ownership day. I feel like.
I'm kind of excited that I'm high on these, like the good teams like Boston and the Dodgers. I think they're going under-owned, both of those 2 teams. I think Minnesota's probably properly owned, I would say. Man, are there any teams that you see that are like going very, very overlooked that you would say like definitely under-owned? Oakland, another one for me.
Let me try sorting by team name, which I usually do. Which again, if you are a premium member and you use the ownership projections, think sorting by team name is another interesting way to get a good look on the slate. Of course, it's dragging ass for me because why wouldn't it? Let's see. I mean, I can tell you that Atlanta feels overowned.
Okay.
Me, right?
I think,
that's the one that jumps off right away.
I think I agree.
Dodgers definitely underowned for all the reasons we've talked about, some of the volatility of Peralta. Think that they are one who is probably a little bit. Also, Milwaukee kind of picked up some ownership too. Interesting.
I mean, Milwaukee, it's not like they don't have a good, powerful lineup, but there is some strikeout upside for Maeda, and that's why I'm on Maeda a ton. Which Arizona bat you said you liked, Jake? That was Pollock and Goldschmidt, and then further down the lineup, Ketel Marte. I think he's a way to differentiate now that he got bumped down to 7. There was another question.
I do feel, for the reasons we talked about before with St. Louis, they're all single-digit ownership, and I think if you want to play, we discussed Tyler Anderson maybe being a guy who looks pretty good. I think that is an interesting spot. If they're all going to be, if the highest ownership on St. Louis is going to be 8%, and we think that they're overdue for a matchup to go well versus a lefty, I don't know. Texas too. Like, not enough people stacking Texas against Ray, given how many people are playing Ray.
Oh, I'm stacking Texas. I mean, I forced some stacks in there just because I'm underweight on Ray, so I have to assume someone gets to him, right? I'm not banking on him leaving the game in the 3rd inning with an injury. So just like logically, I have to have some Texas. It's mostly Beltre, Andrews, and Profar I actually like a lot. Chirinos in there quite a bit, but Chu can hit lefties. Odor can hit lefties for power at least. It's just going to be a matter of, if Robbie Ray's striking out guys, you're probably going to know pretty quick how this start's going to go for Ray, because if guys are squaring him up, that chalk is going to bust. If he's fanning 4 and 2 innings, you're in trouble if you faded him.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to me that you can get like a mini stack of like Andrus, Beltre, and Chirinos for a total combined ownership of like 2%, or like, give or take. So yeah, for me, I think Texas is a little underrepresented. I'm curious about that.
Yeah, Brandon, me and Shark are dating. That's why I answer his questions. What else we got here? Let's just run through a few of them. Ray or Anderson? Which one has the upside tonight? That one's Ray, I think, by a long shot. Not that Anderson is a bad pitcher by any means, because I think he's actually pretty good, but just a much tougher matchup as far as strikeouts go for Anderson. Would you go Oakland or Cleveland 4-man stack on FanDuel? I mean, it depends what your other stack is, or who the rest of your lineup is. If you want a contrarian stack, I think it's Oakland. If you have a contrarian other stack that you're pairing with Cleveland, I'd say go Cleveland.
Let's see. Any other good questions? Any Colorado lefty bats? We haven't talked a ton about Colorado. I guess in part because they're not in Colorado. I also think their lineup just kind of sucks today.
Yeah.
But how do you feel about Colorado and I guess the lefty bats in particular?
So I like Blackman a lot. I think he gets underplayed outside of Coors. Cargo is fine, but he's almost 5K. Arenado will play righty-lefty in Coors, out of Coors. He's just a phenomenal hitter. So no issue with Arenado, Blackman. It's just tough to get to a full stack. I would like to get to a full stack just because Carmart is going to be popular. He's coming off an injury. There's certainly some red flags, but I didn't get to as many full stacks of Colorado as I would have hoped.
Yeah, I agree. The lefties that they have in there really aren't that good besides Blackman and Gonzalez. Like, Ryan McMahon's not doing anything. Hara can get on base, but not much upside besides that. And again, it's also like you're trying to stack them, then you're throwing a ton of guys in the middle of that stack, and I don't love that. So maybe a mini stack, and maybe a one-off Carlos Gonzalez. But again, 5K for him, not at Coors. So yeah, probably not much Rocky for me.
Yeah. What else do we got? I'm running my last crunch right now, and then I'm gonna have to upload this. So if I'm a little distracted after this, my bad. All right, so I'll answer a few questions right now, or just kind of talking points. Benintendi crushing righties lately. Yeah, Benintendi I think is a really good GPP play. We've got him, what I think is under-owned. Nola's a good pitcher, but super tough spot for Nola. I think the Red Sox get to him 5 total. It's not like they've got a 3.5 run total. So I like Benintendi and the Red Sox. Thoughts on Moustakas? I'm not targeting against Maeda. So very, very little Moustakas for me. Justin Bour or Joe Mauer? Oh, what a doozy that is.
Joe Mauer.
You'd go Mauer? I think I would go Bour.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the twin stack better, but I would go Bour there if you're one-offing, just because Mauer does not have much. He does not have much power. And Bour certainly does. Peralta, how do you feel about him?
Peralta. Wait, which Peralta? Freddie Peralta or the other Peralta?
I'm assuming Freddie.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Freddie. I mean, I think he's another one who's a little volatile today. The strikeouts are there. He's pretty good versus righties, but there's so many lefties on the Dodgers who could do damage to him, and that's really been his weak spot. So I'm not crazy about Peralta. And like Jake said, if his stuff isn't as good, maybe in his last couple outings, I haven't looked as closely at that. It looks like he's still getting swinging strikes at a similar rate, but he has shown that he can get rocked. So I don't think his stuff is overwhelming enough. I'd be more inclined to stack against him than to play him.
Who would you mini stack with the top 5? I would rank them like this: Betts, Benintendi, Moreland. No, that's a lie. Betts, Benintendi, JD, Moreland. It's basically how the lineup goes for me. Is how I would prioritize the Red Sox mini stack.
I gotta get get this whole lineup out.
All right.
I had two Blue Jays who were not in.
You do that.
Okay.
My crunch is still loading. I got a few more to go. Myers or Brantley or Acuna tonight. I would go Brantley, Acuna, Myers. That's how I'd rank them. Chris, how swole have you gotten? You can answer that in a second. Feelings about Carpenter tonight. I don't like him against Tyler Anderson. Tyler Anderson's a guy I really respect, and it's a lefty-lefty matchup. And you're not getting a discount on Matt Carpenter either. Joe, no power, Mauer, exactly. Holland sucks. I think he's been better than you think as of late. Jackie Bradley Jr. Yep, I'm playing some Jackie Bradley Jr. Ahmed or Polanco. That's Polanco for me. Melky or Max Kepler. That's Kepler for me. Chris, who did you say you liked tonight? I don't know what that's referring to.
That's a little overbroad.
That's pretty broad.
I like everybody. I think they're all great. I like Eddie Rosario. That's who I like. Honestly, that was the guy I liked the most tonight. I think Shane Bieber versus the lefties is something which people are not aware of enough. And that was something which actually played out pretty fully the last time he pitched. I think versus the Pirates, and he just got shelled. And I think it's sort of a similar thing tonight. It seems like he might be due for a better game too, so that kind of worries me. But he's just so bad versus lefties, and it's like a very noticeable split. So that would be one spot that I'm trying to target as we speak. Let's see. Anything else good?
Yeah, a few San Diego hedge stacks. TMCB 74. I don't think that's the worst idea because Holland does give up a lot of hard contact, but San Diego's lineup. I mean, okay, Myers, Renfroe, Villanueva. Then what? So it's tough. It's not like there's a lot of stolen base upside. Yeah, it's just tough for me to get to a full San Diego stack.
No Margot for you?
I mean, I suppose he's leading off platoon split. I mean, yeah, I guess. But I'm going with Holland's going to be able to get a fair amount of strikeouts and go 5, 6, hopefully 7 innings.
Interesting. Okay. I actually might, fuck it. I might replace this Blue Jay stack with a one more Padre stack. Why not? I just like Villanueva a lot. I feel like he graded out really well for me, and he strikes out, but that home run rate's real tasty.
That it is.
Got some outfielders too. Jesus.
All right, so I'm starting to edit my line. Oh, we've got an extra 5 minutes today. 7:10 lock.
Oh, that's good to know. Yeah, so there you go. You got 12 minutes left to lock, so start getting your stuff in now. If you full stacked Boston, what pitcher would you go with?
I'll just pull up a full
I'd probably
Boston.
go Chet and fade the Atlanta ownership.
We'll just search for like Mookie Betts and see my full Red Sox stacks. I got Holland, Tehran, The double mid-tier pitcher looks like it works out pretty well with the Red Sox stack. I got more Julio than I wanted. So he was the guy I wasn't really on, but for whatever reason, my model liked him. Probably because of the swinging strikes and a lot of righties for the Marlins. But, yeah, I was higher on Julio than I wanted to be, but I just don't have the time to change it now. It's not like he's my highest exposed pitcher or anything, but I just wanted to throw that out. Robbie Ray, I mean, Ray makes everything look a lot better because he's a good pitcher and he's only 8K in a good matchup. Maeda Chen, I'm seeing with some Red Sox. Holland Ray. Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah, this is why you pay for premium. We know when the slate starts.
That's all the important information you need
That's
for
awesome.
your slates. Are always right here, mostly for just timing. That's about it.
Yeah.
Let's see. Any love for the Bieber? I think we just talked about this, but no, I have zero love for Bieber. I think if you're playing maybe a regression game and he should maybe be due, he does have strikeout upside, but I think he's just been so bad versus lefties. I'd be much more inclined to stack the lefties than trust him. So we'll see how that goes.
I have 2 Bieber lineups out of 150. 2. So no love for Bieber for me.
Jeez, so that is not a lot of support. I feel like that means that, like, honestly, if you're playing a bunch of lineups right now, play one Bieber lineup, because the fact that we feel so strongly about it, knowing how DFS goes, means that he'll have a great day, fan all the lefties, and look like an elite prospect again.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Stupid game.
That's how it's been lately for me. I don't know. I've had a rough week or so, I would say. Josh is winning all the money too, so he comes on and, oh, how'd your night go? And I won second in the mini-max, and I'm just like, okay, I got crushed. Congrats.
And on Friday, he won with, like, lineups that weren't even the most updated ones. Like, they were from a crunch that was from a half hour earlier.
Really?
And he just walked right into that. And I think won, like, 3rd place or something. I forget. That guy tagged us in a tweet, and I'm like, I don't fucking care. Tag Josh in it. I don't need to see Josh winning. I don't need that negativity in my life. It's that positivity for Josh. Let's see. God damn it! Now I got to make a Bieber lineup. T McBee, I'm telling you, make a Bieber lineup. It's all looking too good for going against Bieber, which means that Bieber will throw fucking 15 strikeouts.
Man, I was on Bieber when he first came up, but he's getting pounded by both sides. So it's like, I can't even say he's good against one-handedness. I mean, the strikeouts could be there, but the hard contact's almost surely going to be there. It's not like the Twins are just a throwaway matchup. They've got some good hitters like Eddie Rosario, who's going to dong.
Hey, I hope he does, because if he does, I'll be in a very good spot with his ownership the way it's shaking out currently. So for once, I will support your home run pick, but just once. So it makes sense to go with Ray picking low on bats. Yes, I mean, look, there's always ways to find a pivot point for ownership. So for Ray, if you are going to go with him, just find a cheaper, lower owned stack or something, on one that people aren't on. There's enough out there. We've got 9 games. Be creative. Be inventive. Schmidt, there, buddy. All right. You guys got, I guess, have 8 minutes to lock. So really soak it all in.
Yeah. You'll be seeing a lot of me this week. Unfortunately, maybe fortunately for some of you. I don't know how that news comes to you, but Josh will hopefully be back Wednesday night. I think I've said that a couple times on different platforms, but yeah, I'll be doing the strategy video tomorrow morning. It'll be fun. We had a good chat this morning, so hoping to do the same. Thoughts on Ozuna? Posey as a one-off. What do you think?
I mean, again, look, if you're stacking St. Louis, that's the only way I would do it. I wouldn't one off Ozuna, but I think if you are going to play the odds game of them finally breaking through versus the lefty, then I think do that. But otherwise, I probably wouldn't be crazy about it. Who was the other part of that question?
Posey?
Oh, yeah, Posey looks great. That top 3 looks really great.
Agreed. Let me just read through some chat. Holland Ray, lineup A. I haven't thought of it. I haven't thought of that one. Yeah, I've got Holland Ray all over the place. Any love for Bieber? Oh, we answered that, right? I don't like Bieber. I don't like Peralta. I like the Dodgers stack, actually. I'm pretty high on that. Josh is smoking hot. Yeah, he's also pretty good at DFS. I guess it would make sense to go with Ray. Posey is a one-off. We answered that. Postpone in Atlanta 20%. Anyone worried? Who's saying that?
I think it's Mevin Toth at Moto Blinders.
Oh, is that what it is?
I think somebody pointed that out a little bit ago, yeah.
Oh, boy. That's a...
That would throw a big monkey wrench in 40% Tyler Flowers today.
I like that. I'm underweight on the Braves, I think. At least most of their players. Would play Posey more in a stack than a one-off. Yeah, I mean, he's chalky, so I'm sure he's going to be chalky on FanDuel as well. Longoria, he's part of that stack, yeah. I love Longoria against lefties. Always have. Great show, guys. Thank you.
Justin McLean saying the weather should be fine in Atlanta, not supposed to rain until later in the morning here. I know. A lot of conflicting reports, but a lot of people on the ground in Atlanta apparently not worried about the weather. So.
Yeah, I'm leaving all my lineups the way they are. What else do we have here? I just saw a JD Davis lineup on my DraftKings page, so I've got to switch that out. I can't look at JD Davis against Paxton and want to play that.
Oh, I thought you meant a JD Martinez and Chris Davis lineup, and I was like, oh, okay. It's an interesting one to bring up.
Oh, it's like a Houston mini stack. That's disgusting. I guess I have to leave it.
Look, Paxton is coming off an injury.
I know. This is why I have to not mess with my lineups afterwards, because I see that and I'm like, wow, I would not make that by hand.
JD Davis has some pretty good numbers.
I know. He does against lefties. Just to, like the optimizer just gives you stuff you would never think of actually making if you're hand building. That's why I like it and don't like it.
Yeah, 63% hard hit rate for JD Davis versus lefties. Everybody played JD Davis tonight.
Yeah. Good old JD. Probably triple dong in the late night hammer.
Josh will come into the chat and just drop that off. All right, well, I mean, are we just going to ride out to lock? Like, emotionally, I'm done at 4:05.
Well, it is 6:05 here and 7:05.
Whatever.
Chris is so much calmer with Jake compared to with Josh. Yeah, I'm just, I'm easygoing. Josh gets you riled up. It's awesome.
Josh's always trolling and being hurtful in some way. Jake is just, it's all mellow vibes here, just talking baseball data. Having an hour.
Man. Yeah. Thoughts on the media attacking pitchers lately? Do you mean like people finding old tweets? Because I have some thoughts, but I mean, I don't know. I can see it a number of different ways. Like, this is probably not the place for it, but I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, no, it's fine. I think it's silly that people dig up old tweets and try to get people in trouble now, and that's so silly. But it's also stupid that you're a professional athlete, that like you would have that stuff on your record. Like if you have even a shot at being even like a collegiate athlete, just delete your history and whatever. Don't be stupid, but don't tweet that shit in the first place.
Right.
Like if you're dumb enough to not realize everything you say has a consequence, like I know that as well as anybody. Everything has a consequence.
Yeah, you gotta. Yeah. He's been in the majors for how long? Like, even if it's a month, there's trolls. People are going to find stuff that he did. So, don't they have classes on that when you become, like, I'm pretty sure the NBA does. Maybe there's just a league that's farther along in terms of social awareness or whatever. But, yeah, that's just, it's dumb on all around, just stupidity, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think if you want it, like it's a career, and like anything else, like you want to be taken seriously. Like it's bullshit that people do that. Like I think the Guardians of the Galaxy director one is one of the more frustrating ones. Like a guy who was at that point making edgy comedy stuff, making edgy jokes. Like yeah, you fucking made jokes that were a little over the line, but like the fact that he was getting attacked as like though you were an actual pedophile or something is like outrageous to me. That's the world we live in, and you have to be a part of the world that you live in any generation, and just be aware of the world around you. So if you're Josh Hader or Sean Newcomb and you had F-bombs and whatever other racial slurs and stuff, not a great look. Not a great look.
No, yeah, it's We'll leave it at
Will,
that.
will I scream if I ever run into LeBron in the streets of LA? I don't freak out about anybody, so no.
Does LeBron even like go in public? I bet that guy can't even go.
In LA, you can, because that's the whole thing here. Is like people don't make a big deal out of it. Like it's just that's probably part of why he wanted to move here. Is like it's kind of the same reason Kevin Durant wanted to move from Oklahoma City to like San Francisco. Is you just don't get bothered as much. So I think for him, that's probably a big part of the appeal. Is you can go around Brentwood and people aren't gonna like be annoying. Whereas in Cleveland, it's just everything every day.
Yeah. The player. Yeah. One last comment. The players do need to be accountable. It's like I said, stupidity on all ends. I don't care how old you are. You know, you need to be aware that that's in your past if you did it. It's stupid then, but it's stupid to also have it. It's also dumb to dig up tweets of people just because they hit a home run in a game or whatever. It's like, come on, what are we doing?
Yeah, it's a lot of angry people who take out their stuff. That's also why, like, you know, I get very policey of the chat, because negativity stuff, a lot of people try to come and find other people to tear them down just to make themselves feel better. And that's like not a pocket of the internet that I'm ever a part of. And that's the same thing. Like, this guy beat your team, and then you have to dig up an old N-bomb tweet of his to try to get even. It's like, okay, he sucks, you suck, everybody involved sucks.
Right.
So that's the whole equation. And we are locked, so that's enough for everything today. Don't delete your tweet history. That's the first part. Sign up for Awesemo.com's premium membership. So we have some NFL early bird stuff coming up, but get the all sport package. It's always going to be a good deal. Buy a year. Get wild. Win a tournament. Buy a year of the membership and enjoy all the fruits of your labor. We have ownership projections, rankings, all of that. Additional content from Alex Awesemo Baker every single day. So please go sign up for that now. And Jake, any parting words before you go make more content and then make more content tomorrow?
Actually a few. Just we appreciate the DMs and stuff and the coming in chat and saying he won based on our advice. It doesn't go unnoticed. Some of you guys have DM'd me. Maybe you're not comfortable sharing screenshots. That's perfectly okay. If you are, that's perfectly okay too. So glad you guys are winning. Hopefully most of you, if not all, have become better players, and looking forward to seeing you guys tomorrow morning. Come hang out and chat. I need some friends to talk to. Makes it more entertaining for me when we've got good chatters.
Yeah, go join Jake. Jake's all alone in the morning stream. It's way too early for me to be a part of. I always get the alert. Like, I see it when I wake up. Like, I couldn't have even woken up for this if I tried. 7 a.m. Pacific time. Get out of here. But Jake is there fighting the good fight. So go join him tomorrow. And we'll see you guys again tomorrow. Jake and I will be back for another live stream, live before lock show. So see you guys then.